Minister, we all know, Minister, that the Irish people are really suffering hard, and not a month passes that the price is not going up, and they're only going one way. I've been asked my constituents to ask you a couple of questions. First of all, Minister, I want to know what's the reason that the household electricity bills in Ireland are more expensive than the European average? What's your plans to address the electricity costs and energy supply challenges? Minister, this is something very, very serious, and please give me decent answers. Try to give me answers, not written there. Just try to give me what exactly is happening. Thank you.
I will read out some of the response because it's been thought through in terms of to give. And first message is that the high prices are caused by the war. Current high prices are caused by the war in Ukraine. I hope that that's agreed by everyone in this House, because failure to understand that, I think then it's really challenging, because I don't see any other explanation. But also we face particular challenges because we are a price taker in international markets. And Irish electricity and gas prices have historically been affected by long-standing drivers such as geographical isolation, dispersed population, fossil fuel dependency and small market scale. The government is acutely aware of the impact on consumers of these high electricity and gas prices and introduced last year, as I said earlier, a €2.4 billion package, and will go further this year in Budget 23 to protect our people. CRU, as I said earlier, has also announced enhanced consumer protection measures to be implemented by electricity and gas providers ahead of the coming winter that will provide additional protections from disconnections and other safeguards for customers. The CRU, as I said earlier on in a contribution, is responsible for electricity regulation. It stopped price setting for electricity and gas in 2011-2014. Therefore, the setting of gas prices and that is a commercial matter for individual supply companies. It also has statutory responsibility to ensure security of supply and has duty to monitor electricity supplies and make sure the measures are in place as considered as necessary to protect that security of supply. CRU, assisted by EirGrid and my department, has a programme of demand and supply side actions underway to ensure the security of our electricity supply over the coming winters. Our long-term priority and the best long-term approach for Ireland is to insulate consumers from volatility on international wholesale energy markets by investing in energy efficiency, renewable energy and expand interconnection with the European and neighbouring markets and deepen internal market integration.
Minister, you stated there that the price is because of the war. Minister, first of all, how come all these energy companies are making such high profits? Is that because of the war? Can I ask you another question, Minister? And how come it's always seen to be benefiting the companies rather than the consumer? Like, for example, Minister, you stated today that they were talking about standing charges, and you said that the companies have to justify these standing charges. But, Minister, you can stop them putting up these standing charges, Minister. And also, Minister, the amount of people coming to me in my constituency office on about our tariffs and how come they've been advised every 12 months to change to different companies. Minister, can you not force these energy companies to give their best prices from day one, the tariffs? These are simple things at the moment, Minister. Like with families, I know my siblings will keep telling me, oh, change, you get the standing charge, you know, this and the other. But Minister, this is a very serious situation at the moment, is, and you have the power. These are something we can cut the prices down. And instead of, I won't use the word waffling, but just say, Minister, you have an opportunity to do something here. Will you please do something here to reduce the prices to the consumer?
Those high profits and high prices are because the price of gas is 10 times its historical average.
What about the towers? The towers?
Yes. If I can answer your question, what you do about those profits. For certain generators who are not generating with gas, they will get a supernormal profit because the market price is way above their production price cost. So we are working with the European Union, which is the appropriate way to do it. We address this as a wartime measure in response to what the Russian government is doing, by taking some of that excess profit in an intermarginal price system and bring that back to the public. That's not agreed yet. We have to go to Brussels on the 30th of September to address that, but is one of the ways, along as the other measures we'll introduce in the budget, which will actually help bring down the prices or help shield the consumers from the worst protection, from the worst elements of this energy price crisis. There are other measures in social welfare, in energy credits and in business supports. They'll be set out in the budget.
Minister, you have me breathless here at the moment, Minister. I ask you simple questions. You've got an opportunity to reduce the price to the consumer, and you're doing absolutely nothing. I will be honest with Minister. I'd hate to see a CEO of a company, because if you have a CEO of a company, you'll be sacked straight away, Minister. Simple wee things the marshals do at the moment, and you won't even have a look at them. You say, oh, the companies have to justify this and justify that. Minister, you say we're part of the EU. If we're part of the EU, how come our prices are above the EU average? Another deputy mentioned Spain there at the moment, and you said the EU. You keep mentioning the EU. If they're so good to us, why don't they help us? And Minister, one thing you do with the VAT, is the VAT going to continue on the way it is? You reduced it from 13.5 to 9% in May, and it's up at the end of October. People want a bit of breathing, a bit of help here at the moment, Minister. If we're that good with the EU, get on to the EU and ask them, how come we in Ireland are paying above the average of prices there? It makes no sense whatsoever. I come from a business background. God forgive me. When I get my company going, I put my best price forward. These companies should put the top of prices, and instead of messing around, we're in different times. People are really bleeding, and people are looking for help. So it's important that these companies, the government, that we all work together. Please God, this will only happen for maybe 1 or 2 years. But Minister, we need you. You're our CEO, and we need you to do this thing right.
To answer your question, why are we above the other European in price levels? It's because we're so dependent on fossil fuels. We don't have, other than the car gas field, we don't have any of those fossil fuels. We have to import them all. It's because we have the most dispersed population in Europe, and the price of getting electricity and getting gas and getting other energy to a dispersed population is much more expensive than a concentrated one. That's a reality. And lastly, because of the smaller scale and geographic isolation of our markets. What's the answer to that? Firstly, we develop our own fuels, where we have comparative competitive advantage, particularly in wind. I hope we'll see now whether the first of those offshore wind farms off the coast allowed will proceed. But if we're looking to protect our householders, that sort of approach, where we start relying on our own resources not being held to ransom by external resources, governments, is where we can go. And going back to what the debate we had earlier, we help our people by insulating and making sure that our dispersed houses are warm by design and that we don't have to spend so much. That's the answer that we have to follow. That's the path that brings us cheaper energy prices.
Question 58 is in the name of